Good morning. This is Professor David Weiss, once again, speaking on behalf of the Institute for Dispute Resolution and its flagship program on business, connecting bridges and borders from New Jersey City University. Today, we are having a really unique conversation from a part of the world that a number of us on the Western side are not always familiar with, and that is the Republic of Georgia, which is located in the Caucasus. And we're doing this as a radio format show today with a very important academic colleague of mine who's also a practicing attorney in that country and is well known in the ADR circles throughout the United States, Europe, and around the world, and is someone that will provide some innovative as well as educational insight on how mediation is being viewed and applied and what the challenges are from the prism of the Republic of Georgia. This is also setting up for a larger scope discussion that the IDR will be hosting this coming fall. So please check out our website and look for our program that will involve a number of different stakeholders from several nation states on how mediation can support foreign direct investment and promote cross-border business. Good morning, Professor Giorgi. How are you?
Good morning, Professor Weiss. Thank you very much for this kind introduction about my country and for this invitation. I'm really delighted and appreciated to speak for American audience about my small country, which has a very long history and also a very long experience also in dispute resolution.
So tell me a little bit about that history and also a little bit about yourself for the American audience in some of the amazing work you've been doing, both as a practicing lawyer, business lawyer, both regionally, internationally, and then how you tied all of your commitments to helping mediation flourish within the Republic of Georgia.
Thank you very much once more and again. My name is Giorgi Tsertsvadze, and as you have already mentioned, I practice business law in Republic of Georgia, and also I'm a mediator who actually is and was very much engaged, intensively engaged in the ADR development process in Georgia in a very initial stage. So when I mentioned the experience of dispute resolution in the Republic of Georgia, I wanted to say that historically, beginning from the Middle Ages, the ADR tools were very popular in Georgia. And Georgians are very informal and they like informal means of dispute resolution. And also the social life is also very informal in Georgia. So I remember when I first heard about mediation, it was 2004, and it was my last year in the law school. And for that time, of course, nobody was aware of ADR and mediation in Georgia. Actually, the name of this dispute resolution mediation was not familiar. But something that was very close to mediation was, of course, very popular since Middle Ages in Georgia. And Georgians were always trying to find this kind of alternative mechanisms they could resolve their disputes. So, of course, in 2004, there was not a good time in Georgia for mediation to be developed. And after 6 years or something like this, in 2010, I first published the mediation textbook in Georgian for Georgian students. And I could not believe how popular it has become among students. And I remember the classes where more than 100 people were presented and they wanted to hear more about mediation. And after this also, the government decided to promote ADR because the court, as it happens everywhere, was overcrowded. A lot of cases were delivering every day, and they wanted to find some alternative. And also what helped us a lot was Georgia's negotiations with the European Union and the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, the DCFTA, which was signed with the European Union in 2014, put Georgia's obligation forward to develop mediation and arbitration as tools of ADR. And in 2015, we already have created and founded Georgian Association of Mediators. And in 2017, we also founded with my colleagues and partners the first mediation and arbitration private service provider in Georgia with the business association. So this model, the best practice, which is well developed in different parts of the world, we have created this kind of mediation center, which has business associations as shareholders who are interested to bring their members who have some disputes to be resolved. So this mechanism has become very popular in Georgia, and I can confirm now that more than 60% of Georgia's banking and insurance sector is working with us now, and they have our mediation and arbitration clauses, and they are happy to resolve their disputes with their clients, with their corporate clients, and also with the consumers through mediation and arbitration services which we provide. So this is very brief what I can say about me and my activities in Georgia, which is related to ADR and mediation especially.
So you made some really interesting remarks, and I'd like to start from the perspective of one important comment that you made amongst many just now about the history going back into, frankly, the centuries of Georgian philosophy, Georgian culture. And what do you, from your opinion, feel are some of those important contributions that have been made into the mediation philosophy and culture that are not just used in Georgia, but can be used around the world from a general perspective?
David, thank you very much for this question, because I think this was one of the most important points which we have considered when talking about mediation and developing mediation since 2010 in this country. And I also made a small research of Georgian experience in the Middle Ages of alternative dispute resolution. And I was really impressed with the culture, as you already mentioned, which was developed and used permanently by Georgians to resolve their everyday disputes, and also even the interstate disputes with the neighbors and other countries, because as you know, Georgia is one of the ancient Christian countries in the region, and we have neighbors who have different religion and who have different social structure of their social life. And there were a lot of differences and a lot of disputes and battles also between those countries in the Middle Ages. And Georgians were always trying to use this kind of alternative mechanisms to resolve those disputes. And as I've already mentioned, Georgians are, as the majority of societies who come from South, are very informal, very emotional, and emotions mean too much in this country. And they are also very personal. And for that reason, I think mediation is the best tool for Georgians to resolve their disputes and to show and to do their best, contributing in the future of the country. And I can confirm the interest of Georgian business who understands the philosophy of mediation, having it very informal, very flexible, and tailored to their needs. And of course, from the beginning, initially, there are a lot of questions because, you know, business is always very careful with new things. But then finally, when they understand this works much more better and much more effectively for them, then they agree to be part of it. So Georgia's past and the past experience helps us a lot to convince people who have the, of course, the same understanding of philosophy, of disputes, and to run their business. So I think this experience and history gave us a big argument, a big choice, so to say, in favor of mediation.
That's very interesting, because mediation as a discipline, which I have highlighted on many different types of topics on our ongoing podcast and Spotify shows, has facets. And one is now what you are talking about with respect to the business, even from a historical perspective, embedded in the philosophy and culture that developed around that. So let's explore that just a little bit more, and then we'll bring it up into more the modern part of the era that we live in, which is probably just as complex as it has been through the decades of the 20th century or even the centuries of the Middle Ages. Let's explore it from the perspective of what is your opinion when it came to the Silk Road and the trading that took place. Was this a part of that Middle Age development, if you will, of the mediation, not just within what is the Republic of Georgia today and the Georgian heartbeat of solving conflicts, but how did it apply when it came to the trading routes of other different cultures, different religions, different geographic locations between what was partly Europe, partly the Byzantine Empire, partly, of course, what we know as India today, or the Chinese legacy of its time that probably in the Middle Ages was controlled by some descendants, I assume, of the Mongol dynasty. So how did Georgia, in those trading routes, the business aspects, apply these applications, if you will, in that process? And as a follow-up to that, what do you see in that still surviving to this day in real practice?
Very good question, David. Thank you very much for this, because I have talked and thought too much about this question. Because since 1991, when Georgia has become independent from the Soviet Union, my country tries to get the role back, which always belonged to Georgia during centuries. So Georgia, if you just take a map and look at it, you see that Georgia is between two seas, the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. So Georgia had always been on crossroads and always was a part of big trading routes and destinations, like Silk Road, for example. A very big part of Silk Road was going through Georgian territory during centuries. And Georgia was like a bridge between West and East because of the culture also. Because as I've already mentioned, Georgia was a Christian country. And for that reason, Georgia was very close culturally to the European countries and the European continent. On the other hand, Georgia was very close to the Muslim world and also to Middle Asia, and could understand their culture and their lifestyle and the mindset, which of course is very important. And of course, now, if we come back to the current situation, Georgia is trying to get their role back, to serve like a bridge for Middle East, for example, and for Middle Asia especially, which was also a part of Soviet Union in 20th century, in the second part of 20th century. So this part of the world, which has a lot of natural resources, of course, is a part of international market and international trade. And they know Georgia and Georgians very well because of this common experience with the Soviet time and the Russian Empire. And on the other hand, Georgia is the closest ally of West in the region. So Georgia is a associated member, so to say, with the European Union. We are not full members, but we have the visa-free regime with European Union. And just to give you one example, Georgia now is the only country having free trade agreements with China and with the European Union simultaneously in the region. There are no other countries having these kind of opportunities to offer to the countries, for example, from Middle East or Pakistan, India, and we have lots of interest from those countries, including China, who also want to invest in Georgia. But to invest in Georgia, this does not mean too much for them because the country is very small and the market is very small. But being presented in Georgia means to have a key in the region. So they want to, and I have served for international companies who are coming to Georgia and who are building their infrastructure in the region through my country because of these reasons. Because Georgia is, as I've already mentioned, culturally very close to West, and people who come from West feel very comfortable in Georgia, and the lifestyle is very similar. And as you have also personally experienced, David, Georgians are very informal. They are very easy in relations. So they always, and they like historically people who come from West. So for that reason, I think that Georgia has a very good opportunity now to get their role back and to serve as a bridge, being on crossroads, and to serve different things to the countries I've already mentioned. And of course, the mediation should be the first choice because Georgians can be good mediators between those countries who, of course, have different social cultures and differences in their mindset and understanding of things. And I can also say that Georgians now, a lot of Georgians, my students, try to go to Europe or to US and to get the education there, which is, of course, one more evidence for cultural relations between Western countries and Georgia. And of course, I think and I believe that after 15 years or 20 years, this will help us a lot to serve as a global mediators, so to say, for this part of the world.
I love what you're saying. And I want to ask, as I'm listening to you speak, we'll call it the DNA of the historical contributions and evolution of the Georgian stakeholder participation through the centuries in the Silk Road, for all the reasons you said. It reminds me of the Getting to Say Yes book and the Harvard Negotiation Project by the Getting to Say Yes book, which was written by Professors Fisher, Curry, and Rogers, and talks about interest-based bargaining. And for our audience, this deals with understanding how to, in mediation, how to understand the other party's positions in order for you to come to some common ground. Would you, from your perspective, suggest, from what you have so eloquently described, that the Georgians were doing this as part of the development of their own participation in the fluidity and efficiency of the trading routes back in the centuries?
Yes, of course. So this is what we Georgians try to do now, because our uh, fathers and grandfathers in Middle Ages were doing exactly the same. So they were always trying to find common grounds between two different worlds, which of course, as you know, how religion was influencing the society in the Middle Ages. And maybe this is the same case also in some countries today also. So I think this is what our fathers and grandfathers, as I've already mentioned, were trying to find a common ground and to avoid conflicts and battles and disputes, and to give to the people from the region opportunity to live in peace. You've been in Tbilisi, David, and you have seen the synagogue and the Christian Orthodox Church and the Armenian Church and Catholic Church, and also the Muslim mosques in Tbilisi. And they are about 150 meters distance from each other. So all these buildings, which were built in the Middle Ages in Tbilisi, gives a good example and also serves as a good evidence for the common grounds Georgians were trying to find to live with people who were different from them and to live with them in peace. And we had this experience. Tbilisi is one of the places where people from different cultures, different social life, different style of thinking and religion were living in peace. So I've also grown up in this city, and I remember from my childhood people who were speaking 5, 6 languages, because these was languages of their neighbors. So they were all different nationalities. And of course, this was an amazing experience, which of course also remains a part of culture of the capital of Georgia. So I think this example gives a good reason to us now Georgians to proceed in this way and to continue and deepen our efforts and our opportunities in this regard, and to develop the ADR culture and to bring this culture in the region. And this is exactly what we try now, because we had a lot of experience and also attempts with other countries in the region, not only in Georgia. For example, we have very good friends in Azerbaijan, in Armenia, in Kazakhstan, who are also great believers in ADR and who always try to join their efforts with our efforts and with our activities, and we always try to be in line with each other. And I strongly believe that we will definitely be successful in the nearest future, because there is no alternative in the region. You mentioned Caucasus, where there are a lot of conflicts between the countries and also internally within the countries. And I think that mediation and peace is the only way out for them.
And, you know, it sounds like from this discussion, and it'll be sort of the way to wrap this up in our discussion today, based on your last observation and statement, which is your contributions, which obviously are many, and we could have a very long discussion beyond the scope of just one contribution here. But let's focus on concluding for our audience contribution of academics and education in that process that you lay out just now. What do you see as some of those contributions currently from an academic education perspective that Georgia as a whole is currently doing?
Excellent question. Thank you. So I think that this is the number one thing for Georgia now, to develop mediation, because the older generation, which was born and grown up in the Soviet period, I think, has a trouble to be and to accept the new things. And of course, this has a lot of reasons why it's happening in this way in Georgia, and not only in Georgia, in other post-Soviet countries. So I think that education is the key, and the new generation is the key. And I'm really impressed how the new generation of law students, and not only law students, also I know some psychologists and some business students, the MBA students, who are very much involved in ADR things, and they're always ready and happy to get new things and to travel different countries to get and gain experiences there. So I think that education and educational activities in Georgia is the most important thing to develop mediation. And I think, and I also consider, when I'm asked about the contributions or efforts we have put in developing mediation in the country, that what I can do as a mediation practitioner for my country to develop mediation is to teach as more people as it is possible. And as I've already mentioned, my students are much more smart than the older generation of lawyers, who are, of course, reluctant, who do not want to accept, who are always putting questions, and they always have doubts and so on. This is very natural for lawyers, as also you have also experienced the same in the US when developing mediation. So I think that the new generation and the academic activities is the key which can bring mediation forward. And I will do my best as a professor who was actually the first teacher. So I remember the first class in mediation, which we have offered in Tbilisi State University, was in 2011. And I remember when they were putting the subject mediation in the schedule, there was a mistake of the local staff of the law faculty, and she put there meditation because she could not understand what mediation is. Now our students know the differences between mediation and meditation. And so I think we are moving forward, and the students are happy to get more experience. And I want to stress it, the international experience, because of course in the Middle Ages, Georgia has got some experience, but this is not that much popular now, because it was 500 years ago, 600 years ago. So I think the American experience, especially the European experience, is helping us a lot to teach our students, to educate them, and to prepare them as a future generation of peacemakers, not only in the country, but also in the region. So I always tell my students that they have to be tailored globally. They have to prepare themselves, only local Georgian mediators, but international mediators. And Georgia has become a member of Singapore Convention. Georgia is one of the signatories and founding fathers, so to say, of the convention. And we're very proud of it, because we are the only country in the region which is among the signatories. So I think that this will give us a favor, and this will give us an advantage to move forward and to be the pioneers of international dispute resolution culture and mechanisms in the country and in the region also.
Well, I want to thank you for providing this concluding perspective as well. I think it's very important. And there's a quote that I'm thinking of as you're talking that will, on a personal level, you will reflect and recall as well, from a friend of ours, Vic Schachter, who has dedicated a large part of his life. And I remember him saying, by quoting to someone very important in the 12th century, Rumi, the very famous poet, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. And when the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. And I believe when I think about those words, it is embedded in the DNA of what the Georgian culture is all about. And I really want to thank you again for sharing with our audience around the world how that Georgian DNA can be transposed on a global contextual level and exported, including to the United States, in a time of reflection ourselves, where we faced a lot of historical challenges from the past that we are now having to rectify. So, Professor, thank you for sharing your time and your insights on this important topic. Once again, this is Professor David Weiss from New Jersey City University's Institute for Dispute Resolution and its Connecting Bridges and Borders program, which is the flagship for our podcasts and Spotify's. We look forward to further discussions on exciting topics which fulfill the heart, the soul, and the mind. And until next time, once again, I bid adieu.